Everyone, happy to see you. I would like, first of all, to thank you along with the whole team for your trust and interest in our work here at Livetrend, because we are amazed to see so many people, so many fashion professionals all around the world connected to our presentation. We are waiting like average 200 people today, so thank you. And this time it's a very special Trendstorming because we are presenting the result of the constant analysis that we do on social media to explain how we can take advantage of this trend that seem more ephemeral, less persistent, but so important for the new generation. So out of this tracking came a very interesting analysis that we try to summarize in this webinar. But of course, it's a very, very big study. And we go through all our historical data, and we have been able to visualize how these trends that seem like, fragments scattered across the web are actually, when you dezoom, they grow the most enduring stories. And these, in fact, are the ones that we need to leverage to refine the strategies and always knowing how to adapt these choices and to your brand, of course, because the watchword would be to make conscious choices and to know how to renounce and stay focused on the fundamental guideline. But for that, you need to do the right screening in a quick time. And it's a difficult exercise, we know, and that's why we are here with Livetrend to help you with these decisions. Just looking if I can. Okay, great. So we summarize this big analysis for today, giving you some key to work with the core trends, understanding why they are important to engage your clients, and giving you an overview of the core trend mapping that we always do. But of course, we won't have time for everything, unfortunately. So we decided to show you some evolution and contamination of some of the major trends. Then we will show you some of the most persistent ones and how these micro trends are part of a bigger picture of bigger macro trends, and showing also some sociological shifts. So to finish, we will give you some action points. So of course, you can get some action, of all this study that we did. And so let me see. Okay, let's start with some presentation. So I am Barbara Maiocchi, and after 20 years in fashion as a product and creative director, I have founded Livetrend, the first data-driven trend solution to make informed decisions. And we leverage on artificial intelligence to help our clients to have the right product at the right time and at the right price. To this goal, I built with a team of engineers and fashion experts a digital solution providing accurate trend analysis and competitive intelligence to forecast the trend with the highest accuracy and help brands and retailers to have more bestsellers and avoid unsold goods. Today, with me to present this Trendstorming, we have Simona Iampieri from Italy and Julia Stratman from Germany. Livetrend is an innovative solution able to better forecast trend and monitor the market, thanks to a technology that collects, processes millions of images and text from the most influential sources today. As you can see in the slide, 3 million of images on social media per month, 75,000 new in product per week on e-commerce, and more than 50,000 looks each fashion show. And we are able to cross all this information with consumer interest, meaning the consumer searches online, to help you stick as much as possible with consumer needs and avoid producing polluting overstocks. Livetrend is a collaborative platform designed for the entire value chain, providing different tools, helping strategic teams working together and sharing the same information. So designers and buyers love our trend feed, where our fashion experts curate more than 400 reports per year. Merchandiser and e-commerce team love our analytic dashboard where they can access personalized data to monitor their market and their competitor from product offer to prices. And we also have a product library to easily filter your needs and find the corresponding images. So our goal is to facilitate your decisions by giving you the concrete information you need to capitalize on the right trend. So you can reduce unsold goods with best-selling products, avoid betting on your intuition only and making data-driven decision instead, stop the margin loss of discount with products that don't meet the consumer expectation, and reduce the low-value task. I know how much we did all these value tasks, searching for the information, but now you can gain your time for creativity and strategy and make the right decision, and of course, make the most sustainable decision. So if you want to know more about our methodology, feel free to contact us, and we will be pleased to show you how we work and give you a tour of the platform. But now let's start with the topic of today.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for connecting today. As Barbara mentioned before, I'm Julia, and I'm going to give you a quick introduction of what we're going to discuss today. But before we really dive into some of these leading core trends that are defining the fashion industry, I would really like to just point out their importance as a whole. So core trends really allow fashion players to anticipate the wants and needs of these new online cohorts and to propose the right products for these audiences. That means knowing about these core trends really guarantees you to meet consumer demands. And today we're really facing a very trend-driven market, especially due to the fast pace of social media, especially TikTok, etc. And now we see like clients who are expecting brands to really offer the latest styles relatively shortly after they appear on the screen. So this is super relevant now if you want to catch the millennial market. And by keeping up with these trending core aesthetics, you can really grasp onto these emerging styles quickly enough to grab consumers' attention as one of the first brands and fuel this desire for fresh and relevant products. Because when you miss these opportunities, it can lead consumers to, shift towards the competition who is maybe responding more proactively and rapid to these emerging, core trends. And this means that by tracking core trends and staying on top of them, you can make yourself hyper competitive. So it'll keep you ahead of the curve and give you this distinct competitive advantage where we have a market now that is really focused on speed and agility, and with possible inabilities to keep up with this speed and this novelty and the ability to detect these new core trends, you can really put your brand at risk to lose its market share, as I mentioned before, to competition that is quicker when it comes to these core trends. So this is very much related to current consumer behavior, where we have clients that are more likely to make impulse purchases. So they would be drawn to products that are really trending at the moment, that they've just recently seen. So putting yourself on a spot where you track these core trends gives you this ability to really, react quickly, grab the attention, and increase your sales and growth as a brand. And further, when you do this as a brand, you're really able to maintain your clients' brand loyalty. We see consumers who tend to stick to the brands that really deliver them what they're looking for. And when you're staying on top of the core trends of these online shifts and movements, you're really able to provide these relevant products in a timely manner and be able to keep your shoppers coming back because they know you have the right product that they're looking for and they do not need to shift to someone else. Exactly. But what actually are these core trends and how did they even appear? On the next slide, we can see that core trends began to develop during the pandemic because that was a time when social media kind of became the primary stage for people's, means to self-expression, because we saw that physical spaces were out of reach, especially for youth culture, which really needed a new place to properly develop. So platforms like TikTok became crucial for them to manifest their identity and foster these new peer groups that created a sense of belonging. So showcasing your aesthetic online and sharing and connecting with each other has really enabled this, multiplication of micro aesthetic movements on social media. But even after the pandemic was over and we could go out, branch into these real spaces again, we saw that this idea of quickly shaping new communities and connecting with people all across the globe in an aesthetic way in order to create a feeling of community and belonging has maintained its appeal. So over the past years, these core trends have reached unparalleled peaks. We've seen recently that the searches for TikTok have grown year on year by 3,400%, which is an incredibly astonishing number. And we really try now to understand this challenge of how to precisely track these trends and how to master them in order to exploit their commercial potential and also anticipate which ones are going to have a long-lasting impact and how to translate this into products for your brand. But now first, Simona will give you a quick year-to-year breakdown of how the main core trends that are affecting the fashion sector have developed to keep you in the loop.
Hello, everybody. I'm Simona. I'm a trend analyst here at Livetrend, and I will give you a quick overview of our timeline, and then we will deep dive in how to read these core trends and give them a sense into the chaotic map. So here we start with the year 2020, which, as Julia already said, marks a pivotal moment of the evolution for the core trends, because it's a year where young people found a voice and a space on a digital ethereal world. And the predominant need was to escape reality and find a refuge elsewhere. So the dimension of extreme comfort and sophistication of lounge life, or the idealized simplicity of pastoral life, or also a symbolic and mysterious allure of a mysterious and magic word of the mystic trend, showcase a longing for introspection, reassurance, and also find an identity in a moment where the historical context is of profound change and uncertainty. So we see how they develop in the next slide. So in 2021, how the emergence of trends have a more gloomy and dark undertones. So we see trends such as dark academia, cyber grunge, and villaincore, which are aesthetic that reflect a subtle sense of rebellion and protest, and a way to push back against the pervasive uncertainty of the moment that's clouding in society. So through these styles, young people found an outlet to channel their frustrations while embracing a creative form of resistance. And I think also an important mention here was that in 2021, the trend Regency Core marked the success of the Netflix series Bridgerton, which catalyzed the attention of younger consumers. So this trend became one of the first major instances where a streaming series had a profound impact on consumers' wardrobe, bringing opulent, historical-inspired fashions such as corset, empire waistlines, and delicate embellishment into the mainstream in a moment where we were at home in a difficult context. So this shows really how cultural products such as Netflix series or movies can really impact a younger audience, because now they are really accessible. So it's easier that they spread quickly. And to go through our timeline in 2022, so in the next slide, I was going to talk about indie sleaze, so I mixed the two terms. We can see how really here we have a sleazy remix that was given by the emerging trend of indie sleaze, which is not considered a micro trend because it's radicated in the 90s and it's about grunge and a revival of this messy and unrefined aesthetic, which contaminated a bit the panorama you can see in this map. So you can see on one hand, there are themes like frivolity and seductivity on the forefront, but this hyper feminine aesthetic was also contaminated by these sleeves, as you can see, ballet core and ballet sleeves, one next to the other, and this means that there is like a raw and unfinished aesthetic that added a grit and imperfection touch to the glossy allure which was dominant at the beginning of 2022. So here we speak about contrasts, but we can see how they evolved in 2023, bringing a flat line given by quieter and classier looks. So in 2023, the evolution of culture trends was marked by the rise of quiet luxury, which is a movement that shaped the post-pandemic era, influenced by the economic recession and geopolitical uncertainties in Europe and in the Middle East. So this socio-economic climate has steered fashion world through more restrained choices, so emphasizing the widespread of minimalism, neutral color palettes, and increasingly basic wardrobe staples. So we can see that micro trends like stealth wealth reflect a shift towards an understating luxury and a preference for privacy, while the emulation of upper class aesthetic is covered by trends such as old money, but we'll see more about this later. And we can see how these movements collectively highlight a preference for subtle refinement and understated elegance because they are facing a global instability. And to go to nowadays, so in 2024, aligning with this quiet luxury wave, we can see there was a little breeze of change, but was always counterbalanced by this quiet luxury, which was always very present. So the evolution of 2023 in this modest and composed panorama gives the rise of micro trends that push back against minimalism, such we can see such mob wife, office siren, which reintroduced more seductive and bold expressions of femininity compared to previous season. However, the market remained hesitant to fully embrace this kind of maximalism and eccentric themes, and was clinging to the certainty of timeless and understated luxury, as we can see culminating in the demure trend that we will cover later, which thrive on safe investments and neutral tones, elegant layering. So it's crucial to track which are the undercurrents, the one that are trying to push back minimalism from the current scenario. But it's also important to understand that it was such a big trend with a big resonance that these micro trends are still they still fatigue to be heard and to fully explode, but will be for sure relevant in the next couple of years. So after this introduction, we will show you how to read core trends from the map. So on our first topic, we have evolution and contamination. So we can see that core trends evolve and often contaminate with one another. They are creating hybrids that reflect shifting in cultural attitudes. So we can see on this theme, the concept of femininity. We will cover this because it's a particularly fascinating aspect of this evolution, which lies in the shifting perspective of femininity. So it's shaped by trends that resonate deeply with cultural and aesthetic values. One such trend that gained extraordinary traction and will be a key focus for our analysis is cottagecore. This trend steeped in nostalgia and draws inspiration from an idealized vision of countryside living. It celebrates an idyllic lifestyle, a pastoral lifestyle, where tradition and retro aesthetic reign supreme. And at its core, it lies the pursuit of a bucolic femininity. It very much aligns with the today notion of the trad wife, which is the wife who lives in the countryside and is related to tradition and a less empowered aesthetic, if we can say so. And the trend is marked by floral patterns, granny knits, the cottagecore dress, and it has this perception of softer femininity, which lies in retro aesthetic. But cottagecore did not remain static. So in the next slide, we can see how under this influence, and also the influence of Regency core that we mentioned before, with its opulent notion, the femininity became more childlike and more soft, and it's celebrated by doll-like features and delicate charm. So we can see here in the coquette core how the femininity became very romantic, flirty, and it's not very much related with daily life. It has this sense of nostalgia and escapism. It's marked by pastel tones, for example, which are still relevant today because are still growing by 60% on consumer searches, or by fabrics like the white lace. So this is really important to understand how the perception of femininity became more related to an idealized woman, and also the ballet core in the next slide that we can see that pushed this delicate charm by satin bows or lace-up ballet flat. It's very much a narrative of a woman who is delicate and refined, and it lives in a secure scenario. But the point we want to make is that this kind of femininity evolved, but also contaminated. So we cannot find these themes as its pure core nowadays, because there was the event of blockcore in 2022 as well, which was driven by the FIFA World Cup for sure in 2022, and a lot of themes related to retro sport and do-it-yourself culture. This is a trend that foregrounds community, athleticism, and it's celebrating the collective identity. And through this football culture, at some point, the concept of femininity, the soft femininity, the childlike femininity that we mentioned before, was mixed and was contaminated with our last core trends in this selection, which is the blockette. It is one of the latest trends that here at Livetrend we tracked, and it's an hybridation of the feminine themes that we presented with the block core. So with the coquette core, the softer tender femininity coexist with elements of strength, playfulness, retro sport, and a more modern femininity. And this showcases how the blending of these trends is giving rise to fresh experiments that redefine styles, and they are always evolving and always transforming into something different. So this dynamic interplay of influences is demonstrating that the trends are fluid, and their ability to adapt and evolve is creating entirely new narratives. And we will explore this further with a selection of trends that were born as micro but became macro. And I leave the word to Julia.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to talk about core trends in a different way, because it's equally important to consider how some of these micro trends are becoming the root for more long-term aesthetic developments within the fashion world. So we have seen that some of these micro trends that were born on TikTok have really remained remarkably relevant in the years after. One significant example of a core trend that turned macro is this #lounge life look, which emerged in 2020 just after the lockdowns hit, and it's a trend that is signifying not only this radical shift in clothing due to this new, more homebound lifestyle that came through the pandemic, but it also unleashed an almost obsessive focus with health and wellness. The aesthetics that focus on elevated lounge sets and neutral color palettes and these more soft cocooning textures that come in cashmere, wool blends, or, subtle hairy yarns, were crafting these pieces that were perfectly adept at the time to soothe people and provide comfort because we were all set in this period of crisis. However, this aesthetic was kind of essentially redefining lounge and casual wear, and people really were offered these pieces that went from work to relaxation in one go because everyone was locked into their apartments. But on a longer term perspective, the hashtag lounge life really enhanced a more holistic reconnection with our domestic spaces and established a new understanding that we now have of leisure and comfort. And at the same time, it also reinforced that we appreciated the realities that we see within the offline world: calm down, rest, take a slower pace. And as you can see, this is one of the core trends that is, reflecting a more broad desire for retreat and mindfulness, and is, helped to reshape our attitudes towards time and self-care, and really underlines the slower pace of life. So you can see that we have spotted this trend as one of the first core trends, but actually, especially when we look at the development of the fashion industry, we could see the long-lasting impact that this focus on, comfortable, soothing, basic essentials has had on the industry. When we look at the second slide in this category of turning micro trends into macro trends, we see the cottagecore, which has also emerged simultaneously in 2020 and is another one of these key movements that provided escapism and comfort during that time. So people were fleeing from the cities during the pandemic back to the countryside, and it's been a trend that celebrated or romanticized this idea of rural living and offered some sort of idyllic escapism to the urban chaos and also to the spatial restraints that we found in city life during the pandemic because we were locked into the apartments day on end. So with the nostalgia that can be found in this hashtag cottagecore, it also provided us a slower, almost dreamlike tempo to living that kind of matched this new consumer mindset and desire that we also depicted in the first trend, just here translated through something else. And with this romanticized notion of the bygone days, the trend kind of helped people to reconnect with traditional values and the customs of the past, and thereby unleashed a much needed dreaminess and creativity that really had helped at the time to keep people's positive mindset. But today, this trend really continues to influence the fashion landscape, especially due to this nostalgic element and this femininity. So we could see cottage dresses, ditzy florals, and even the Peter Pan color to remain as favorite elements within contemporary collections. And finally, we also wanted to talk about the hashtag leisure club as a core trend that developed slightly later in 2021. And with more than 40K tags on TikTok, you can see that these trends are really visibly impacting aesthetics of the fashion industry. So this specific trend matched the new sports-driven lifestyle that emerged after the pandemic. And it's kind of taking this lounge life, wellness focus, health focus trend to a next level. So you can see this evolutionary character here within. So this trend really tells a story of these elite leisure clubs, focusing on sports like tennis and golf, shaping a clean, nearly snobbish, activewear aesthetic. And it really gives us the idea of aspiring to be part of these specific social circus circles and creating a feeling of community. And when we look at this leisure club aesthetic, we can see that it played a significant role in shaping the fashion industry on the long run, especially in the years after. We've recently seen, this polished, understated luxury narrative that has kind of emerged through the old money aesthetic. That is, of course, a very important follow through from this trend. And we've also seen a couple of smaller niche trends like the tennis core develop from the this leisure aesthetic. For example, the tennis court came a bit matchy with the Olympics and was solemnly based on these like clean white sets and the sporty sense of minimalism. So you can see that the persistence of these core trends really demonstrates how micro trends can have a macro influence, and they are leaving a lasting mark on the fashion industry and its aesthetic landscape. So it's really crucial to, stay ahead of them and to integrate them into your radar when it comes to defining future collections.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you for the assist, because we are covering this topic right now, because we will speak about how tracking core trends is vital, because the industry serves as a powerful indicator of societal moods, aspiration, and values. And fashion reflects how people express identity and respond to socio-economic conditions, and how they navigate cultural shifts. So by monitoring trends, brands and designers can anticipate changes in consumer preferences, from the embrace of minimalism that we will talk about during times of uncertainty, to the rise of bold and self-expressive trends in reaction to societal constraints. So understanding these dynamics allow fashion industry to innovate, and recent societal shifts reflected in fashion trends in recent years have underscored a growing demand for steadiest and traditionalist conservative values. We can see it also in the geopolitical panorama with the American elections, but also with the rise of the far right in Europe recently, which is actually going together with the demand of a luxury which is quiet, but also not too bold or eccentric experimentation, to keep traditions closely, because they give us reassurance. No, so with the stealth wealth trend, which emerged in 2023, and is very much related with quiet luxury and with TV series like Succession, but also with brands that propose minimalism like Loro Piana or The Row. This trend showcase how luxury is speaking more about a modern, modest, and understated elegance. It's not loud. It's more about privacy. It's more about neutral colors and timeless staples. And it's also speaking of discretion and authenticity, but certainly in times of recession, when it's not safe to make impactful changes, this gives consumers a more reliable and sure ground on which to play with. But in contrast with this trend, we also can see in the next slide how the quiet luxury was contrasted with an almost morbid fascination with the lives of the wealthy classes, with the elitarian classes. And this was also exploited during the same year in 2023, also very ironically, by cultural products, movies like Triangle of Sadness, which won the Venice Film Festival, or also The Palace by Polanski, and also TV series like The White Lotus. They depict this high society in an ironical way, and we can see here there is this imitation game, attention between what are our aspirational ideals and what is our critical introspection. So if on one end we thrive for quiet luxury, something that is more modest, on the other end it's nice in times of recession to get a bit dreamy and to try to emulate upper classes through the belonging of specific clubs, like, I don't know, the yacht club or even the tennis we mentioned as a sport, that it's really speaking status. And this trend, it's about heritage, it's about tradition, it's very conservative, as you can see, and it depicts a world that not everybody can relate to, but they can aspirate to. So it's something that it's really making consumers dreaming about a condition that for now it's not accessible to everybody in times of recession. And as we can see in the next slide with the Plaza core trend of the same year, here as well, we are aligning to the same vibe, but here again, pushing a standard of femininity, which is very aristocratic and sophisticated. So even there, playing with a kind of woman, which is preppy, which is going to the chic cafe and is attending the nice gala and soiree. So the Plaza core related to the aesthetic of the Plaza Hotel in New York, and visible in a lot of TV series and products. For example, in the Gossip Girl TV series, they are giving this character, which is posh and it's a little bit snob, but it's also not super eccentric. It's moderate. You can see there are a lot of contrasts of black and white. It's almost sadly gothic as a trend, and is aligning with this longing for the status to exploit our daily wardrobe to dress up like what we aspirate to be. And we can see how this evolved and culminated in 2024 with the demure trend, which is actually very much more modest. So it's actually counterbalancing this richness and status ambition, because both trends are frequently counterbalanced in this period, as I mentioned before in the map, by reactionary movement. And the demure trend was really relevant at the beginning of this fall. You can think also about the fact that demure as a word was selected between 4 or 5 words from the Oxford Dictionary to compete for the word of the year. And what this means is coming from the series, TV series of the 2000 Gilmore Girls. And it's about having a demure attitude, which is very understated, which is very mindful, as they say, because you have to behave and you not to exceed. So not to be eccentric, but be always refined, always say the right word, be in the right place. And it's very manneristic, even in terms of aesthetic. You can see, I think this is very specific of Instagram aesthetic. You can see the moccasin with the bag and the glasses as building some sort of idealized way how we behave and live our daily life, because in real life everything is much more messy and much more frantic. But it's also aligning with a series of beauty trends, of lifestyle trends. You can think about the clean girl aesthetic, which was more related to the beauty sector. But it's very similar to this demure aesthetic, because it's about having makeup on, but it doesn't have to show. You can do your makeup, you can dress up, but you have to blend. You don't have to stand out. So this trend is very significant for the period, because it's the evolution of what quiet luxury was, but also it's evolving from old money. So now it's everything more sober and even less sophisticated. It's just plain and it's just blending. And now I will leave the word to Julia to explain you what will come next.
Thank you. So, of course, we would not be Livetrend if we didn't give you a quick idea on how these trends will shape the future and probably impact your next collection. So we've just seen together that the recent seasons have mainly been dominated by this sense of conservatism and characterized by minimalism and these traditional aesthetics. So everything has really been celebrating, or my core trends recently have been celebrating the idea of restraint, simplicity, and refinement. But we can see that the pendulum is beginning to swing as we see the emergence of a lot of counter movements that disrupt this kind of orderly quietude. And as a first new influence, we can define this kind of retro maximalism, which is taking cues from keywords like ladylike or granny core that we've been, even spotting already in the first signs throughout the fashion shows. And it's a trend or an aesthetic that humorously subverts the classic aesthetics. So instead of merely depicting the past, it really embraces a more exaggerated, almost ironic version of these retro aesthetics. So you can think the past made bold and playful. So you can see these big, colorful interior florals, geometric prints, pearls, eccentric ladylike silhouettes, etc. As another direction, that was introduced by the Brat aesthetic, we can introduce this, more raw, rebellious, and unrefined aesthetic as an opposition to the clean girl that Simona has just mentioned. And this is a trend that's drawing inspiration from a lot of these subcultures that still maintain their relevance, like indie, grunge, and DIY. It celebrates imperfection and authenticity. So we've seen in the Brat aesthetic this like smudged makeup, mismatched layers, and the deliberate feeling of nonchalance that is defining the aesthetic, and really lets us return to self-expression over this basic representation of perfection and of cleanliness and order. And then we have a slightly less disruptive but similarly authentic aesthetic coming up within this messy chic of the frazzled elegance trend. So here we see a trend that exudes effortless yet unpolished charm. So if you can imagine like a hipster novelist from our favorite 2010s rom-com movies who is, slightly in a rush, slightly put together, like in the movie like 30 overnight. So you can see that the aesthetic really captures this tension between refinement and spontaneity, and it really feels refreshingly authentic and relatable. So it's celebrating the realness of our daily lives and kind of counterbalances our fake representation on the screen. And lastly, we've got the Lulu core, which is exploring, a more dreamy and detached mindset shift that is rooted to counterbalance reality with a new form of escapism. And you can see that now it's still kind of more psychologically focused, where with Delulu, a lot of like people online are talking about really detaching, let's say, from a romantic relationship and seeing something that isn't really there. But really for fashion, this means detaching from the reality and refuging into something surreal and dreamlike. So we're deconstructing the layers of reality and also deconstructing fashion. It's, bringing in an aesthetic that is, embracing the beauty of melancholia in the face of chaos and combine something rebellious with the intimate in this new, beautifully disheveled look that we've also begun to track across some of the designers throughout the fashion weeks. So to summarize, really the broader implication of these new core trends is following the cultural reaction to seasons of order and restraint that has been put onto fashion and lifestyle recently, and really depicts this collective yearning for emotional authenticity, rebellion, playful escapism, who are now, kind of the keywords that are taking the lead. And as the fashion world moves, into this new phase, we are going to see these aesthetics also build into these new core trends. And we're already excited to, track and understand what youth culture is making out of them. So for your benefit, make sure to stay ahead of these trends with us. And Barbara will now give you an idea on how you can do that with our key takeaways from today.
Thank you very much, Julia. Yes, just to close this webinar, giving you some key takeaway to really find some action point. So to give you some key to harness the core trends, you definitely need some help, because as you have seen, there's a lot of information, millions of images and information to analyze, and you certainly need the help of a powerful tool and dedicated experts. And you need to get help so to identify the right trends with the persisting potential, as we said, because we don't want you to grab all the trends. It's just, really defining which are the right one, which are growing, persisting lines that you can really leverage, on this trend. And also choose the one that will resonate with your clients, because this is very important. You need to position your brand into the right trend landscape that's aligned with the value of your client, but your own. So you need to craft the right storytelling, because we talk a lot about, you know, the product, the aesthetic, but remember that storytelling is very important, and you need to have the right storytelling to communicate your product. And this can really change how you can transform, you know, the selling of your collection, because today products are not just made by product, but also by the marketing team together. They really should work together from the beginning to give a coherence, you know, to the message and the value and the product of the brand. So for this, you have to monitor the social trends, and of course, with the help of tech solution, because you don't need to lose time, the precious time that you need to, you know, do something else out of all this, you know, searching and information to identify, you know, which trends are ephemeral and the long-lasting one. This is very important. Then select the trends that are aligned with your DNA to optimize your offer and your marketing to ensure you stay relevant in your market. You constantly need to, you know, adapt your visual merchandising and storytelling to stay at the forefront and gain desirability, because of course this is also very important, that leveraging this core trend, you can, you know, be more desirable, you know, in like a brand in the market. And of course, what you need to avoid, because it's very important to have like this big warning that you don't need to run, you know, after trends, because you will end to produce the product that do not meet you know, the real needs, you know, of your client. And maybe they will come also too late for sale, and so you will fill up with stock. So that is not, you know, the purpose. Remember that the purpose is not having everything, but is to renounce to the wrong trend for the brand. So, you know, you have to do, you know, the opposite. Having the information, then you can choose. If you don't have the right, you know, vision 360 of what's going on, you will just running after the thing and doing the wrong choice. So this effectively, you know, this fear of missing out, the FOMO, as we said in English, is going to make you lose your branded identity. So for your designer, have the talent to interpret the trend right, but not everything is suitable for everyone. And you need to get some help to globally communicate, you know, the right trend, because sometimes the product is there, but the storytelling or the right visual merchandising is not, and that's a failure. So this is, I repeat, really a collaborative work where every team brings its expertise. So it's very important to work as a community, as a digital tribe, to really think, you know, in the same way and deliver a strong result, keeping all the same clear goal in mind. So you need to give the direction, and then all the team need to execute in the right, you know, way. Sometimes having an eye from outside helps with the coherence of the choice to make. And as I said at the beginning, so we don't have the time to deep dive into the nearly 70 pages of the full analysis, highlighting the persisting trends, the must-have pieces, and also connected with 40 inspirational mood boards full of amazing images and data. So our client can find the full study on the platform from today. And just for this time with the team, we thought about a Christmas gift to give to all our attendees and all the people that are supporting us coming to our webinar, to give this one-of-a-kind analysis for a very special prize to all the attendees of the webinar. So you will receive an email in a few minutes after the webinar to grab the opportunity to get all the insights, so more than what you have seen now in the webinar, for less than half the price. So this is our gift. And if you want to know more about the platform and services that Livetrend gives and get your collection to the next level, feel free to contact me at barbara@livetrend.co. Remember, it's CO. If you want to get a demo of the platform or discover more about our generative AI service, with which we can create your future bestsellers relying on our top trend data. And we have a team of talented experts and a user-friendly platform at your service. To finish, we will be very happy to have you join the Livetrend family next year, and we have exciting novelties coming that I can tell now. But what I want to do is to thank everyone, because we have a very growing community, and we have hundreds of people registered to our event, thousands of our newsletter. So this year we doubled the number of clients and the people working at Livetrend in Paris and abroad. So I really don't have words to tell you how proud I am of the Livetrend success. So I want, on the behalf also of the entire Livetrend team, to thank you very much, because you appreciate us, you follow us, you advise us, and also you help us to improve. So see you in 2025, because this is the latest, webinar of the year. And thank you.